Part 2: Jerry Yen and Tong Liya's Hidden Decade. The full story behind their secret second son birthday party. When Jerry Yen posted that haunting black and white image of a child's tiny hand in his, and Tong Liya followed with a 6-minute short film revealing their secret second son, Xiao ran, the world gasped and then wept. What had been a mystery for a decade became a living, breathing, emotional tale of love, risk, and relentless sacrifice. But the first revelation only scratched the surface. This final deep dive into the most dramatic celebrity love story in recent memory takes you deeper into the unseen life they lived, the narrow escapes, the emotional storms, and the moment the world almost found out but didn't. This isn't just about a secret child. This is about two people, both global stars, who built an invisible sanctuary, risking careers, reputations, and personal freedoms, just to raise a boy no one knew existed. The pregnancy that changed everything. It was late 2014 when Tong Liya discovered she was pregnant again, 3 months after giving an interview denying any plans for a second child. At the time, she was in the middle of filming Autumn's Last Waltz, and Jerry had just signed a deal for a film reboot in Japan. Insiders say the pregnancy was unexpected and high risk. Her doctor warned that due to complications from her previous birth, she needed full bed rest by the second trimester or face dangerous outcomes for both herself and the baby. Liya pulled out of the project citing personal health reasons. But that wasn't even the beginning of the secrecy. They knew they couldn't go public, said a former makeup artist from the set. Not because they were ashamed, but because the last time Liya was spotted at a clinic, reporters followed her to her home and waited in parked vans for 14 hours. Jerry's vow. "I'll vanish before I let them hurt you." According to a close source from Jerry's inner circle, he cancelled every major commitment in early 2015. No public sightings, no TV cameos, no fan meetings. Instead, he relocated with Liya to an unmarked estate outside Lijiang, purchased under an alias through a private broker. Only 4 people knew the exact location: Jerry, Liya, her mother, and Jerry's retired aunt, who helped manage food and supplies. Liya stayed mostly inside. The estate had thick walls, antique doors, and hand-sewn curtains that never opened in daylight. Jerry, meanwhile, grew a beard and shaved his head to be unrecognizable when buying groceries in the village below. He would carry an empty guitar case with him, the source added. Not because of music, but because it was filled with medical journals and prenatal supplements he smuggled from Hong Kong pharmacies. The birth. Thunderstorm, blackout, and panic. August 1, 2015. A night Lijiang will never forget. A rare monsoon rolled in. The power grid failed. And just as lightning lit up the mountains, Tong Liya went into labor. With no hospital nearby and roads flooded, Jerry carried her down 3 flights of stone stairs in the pitch-black rain. His hands were cut from thorns. He didn't speak. He just kept whispering, "Almost there, almost there." They arrived at the emergency clinic soaking wet, only to find it had no power. The doctor delivered Xiao ran by flashlight, while Jerry held a candle and Liya bit down on a hand towel to stop herself from screaming, not just from pain, but from the fear of being overheard. When he cried, it wasn't loud, the doctor later recalled. It was like a cat mewing. But it was the most powerful sound I've ever heard. Xiao Ran was born weighing 1.8 kilograms, with underdeveloped lungs. He didn't open his eyes for 3 days. They named him Xiao Ran, Silent Orchid, because he bloomed in silence. 1 baby, 2 worlds, no leaks. In the following years, Jerry and Liya's lives became a carefully choreographed illusion. To the public, they were separated, focusing on solo careers. Just friends. But every move they made, every awards show skipped, every sudden disappearance, every cryptic line in interviews, was really a clue pointing to the truth. July 2016. Jerry declined to host the Hunan TV New Year Gala, a role that would have paid him over 5 million yen. Why? Xiao Ran had his first severe respiratory infection that week and needed overnight breathing treatments. Jerry stayed up beside his son for 72 hours straight, not eating, not sleeping, just holding his hand and whispering stories about a prince with invisible wings. March 2017. Liya gave an acceptance speech that left audiences puzzled. She said, "Not all victories are seen by the world. Some are sleeping quietly under warm blankets in places only love can reach." Fans thought it was poetic. They didn't realize she was talking about her son. Training the staff to forget. Their home in Lijiang had minimal staff. One cook, one elderly nurse, and a local housekeeper who'd been working in the area for 30 years. Each was required to sign a lifelong non-disclosure agreement, and Jerry personally trained them in what to say if anyone ever asked questions. "If someone calls, you say no child lives here," he would repeat. "If someone knocks, you say I moved abroad. If a photo leaks, it's the last photo you ever take." Once, a substitute gardener accidentally snapped a photo of Xiao Ran riding Jerry's shoulders. The man was paid 800,000 yen on the spot, not as a bribe but as a severance gift with dignity. He left the village that evening and has never spoken to the press. Xiao Ran's world. Xiao Ran was homeschooled in Mandarin, English and painting. He rarely watched TV. Instead, his parents acted out fairy tales. Jerry would become a dragon or a soldier or a flying elephant. Liya played the moon goddess, a tree spirit, or a talking kettle. They taught him to ask questions, not memorize facts. He would sit by the koi pond for hours, sketching fish in clouds and writing short stories like, "The Boy Who Had No Shadow." At age 7 he asked, "Why don't we go outside?" Tong Liya replied, "Because sometimes the outside isn't ready for the magic inside you." He didn't ask again for 2 years. The almost exposure. 2020. During the lockdown, when even celebrities were live streaming from their homes, fans noticed something odd during a Tong Liya reading session. A child's voice off-screen softly asking, "Where's the red crayon?" The moment lasted 2.4 seconds. But in China that's an eternity. Fans slowed the audio, looped it, compared it with her older son Luohan's voice. It didn't match. Blogs speculated. Did she adopt? A cousin? A friend's child? In a stroke of genius, Liya's team released a charity video featuring children reading from rural schools, redirecting attention. No one suspected the truth, that the voice was her own son, born from love and protected like a flame in winter. Why they finally shared the truth. On July 24, 2025, Xiao Ran, now strong, healthy, and bright-eyed, reportedly came to his parents with a simple request. "Next birthday, can my friend Kai come? He thinks I'm a ghost because he's never seen me anywhere." Jerry and Liya laughed. But later that night, Jerry sat on the rooftop and cried. Not from sadness, but from release. That week, they made the decision to go public. No PR agency. No press release. Just a picture of a hand. A video of a boy running toward his father. A voiceover of a mother saying, "We chose silence to protect him. Now we choose truth to honor him." The photo of a child's hand wrapped around Jerry Yan's index finger may be one of the most powerful celebrity images of the decade. It wasn't staged. It wasn't lit. It didn't even show faces. But it spoke with more intensity than any press conference could. Something sacred had been hidden for 10 years. That something, or rather someone, was Xiao Ran, the second son of Jerry Yan and Tong Liya. The world had known them as actors, idols, heartbreakers, icons. What it hadn't known was that they were parents, together again. And that they'd built a decade-long fortress of silence around a boy they once feared might not survive. This continuation takes you deeper into the moments that define that hidden life, the quiet victories, the near misses, the personal sacrifices that shaped the most carefully guarded secret in Chinese entertainment history. The oath on the hospital roof. 3 hours after Xiao Ran was born, under critical conditions and connected to wires and tubes, Jerry climbed onto the hospital's rooftop alone. Staff later recalled how he refused a wheelchair despite his swollen ankles from sprinting barefoot to the hospital earlier that night. A janitor reportedly overheard him whispering into the wind, "If you let him live, I will disappear. From red carpets, from scripts, from premieres. I'll give him my spotlight." And for the next 10 years he did. How they maintained the illusion. The strategy behind keeping Xiao Ran's secret was not casual. It was an elaborate web of misdirection, silence, and sacrifice. 1. Shifting addresses. Jerry and Tong Liya never used one permanent address for more than 18 months. Xiao Ran's first birthday was celebrated in a stone cottage in Shangri-La. The second, in a friend's unused retreat in Guizhou. By age 5, the boy had lived in 6 provinces, yet never been seen in public. 2. Selective career moves. Tong Liya would take only 3-month acting contracts. Jerry became even more elusive, choosing one low-profile project every 2 years, but only if it allowed night shoots, so he could stay with Xiao Ran during the day. 3. Technology lockdown. No photos, no screens, not even internal emails. Their home ran on word-of-mouth communication, handwritten letters, and untraceable prepaid phones. Even the electric bill was in the name of a 76-year-old farmer Jerry once met at a bus stop. The day Xiao Ran got lost. One of the most terrifying moments came in 2020, when Xiao Ran, age 5, wandered off during a morning fog walk near their Lijiang estate. Jerry had been brewing tea while Tong Liya painted lanterns with him. Just a minute of distraction and the boy was gone. What followed was 6 hours of panic. They couldn't call police. They couldn't alert locals. One sighting could blow 10 years of secrecy. So they searched barefoot through the fog and trees, calling softly to avoid attention. When they finally found him, sitting beside a stray dog on a mossy trail, he looked up and asked calmly, "Why are you crying, Baba?" Jerry dropped to his knees. "Because if I couldn't find you, I would have forgotten how to breathe." A life without faces. Unlike most celebrity children, Xiao Ran didn't grow up seeing paparazzi. He grew up seeing only pieces of his parents' fame. Tong Liya once gave him a crayon drawing of her character in The Last Empress, without saying it was her. Jerry read Xiao Ran bedtime stories adapted from Meteor Garden, but changed the character names. It wasn't until Xiao Ran was 8 that he saw a photo of his parents on a random brochure a guest left behind. "You two look like superheroes," he said, pointing. "We tried to be," Jerry replied. "But we liked being your sidekicks more." The Forbidden Festival. In 2022, Xiao Ran begged to attend the Spring Lantern Festival after hearing about it from a guest's child. After weeks of debate, Jerry and Liya finally agreed. On one condition: they would go in disguise. Tong Liya wore a nun-like scarf that covered most of her face. Jerry grew out his beard and wore a wide farmer's hat. Xiao Ran wore a fox mask. They spent the evening laughing, eating sticky rice balls, and dancing in the street. For those few hours they were anonymous. Free. Until someone asked to take a group photo. Tong Liya politely declined and ushered them away. But Jerry noticed the stranger's phone had still clicked. That night he didn't sleep. The photo never surfaced, likely discarded by someone unaware of who they were. But it was a turning point. "We knew the wall wouldn't hold forever," Liya later told a friend. "We just hoped he'd be strong enough when it fell." Rituals that made them a family. Each year on Xiao Ran's birthday, the family would create a memory capsule, a box of tiny notes written to the future. Jerry's always ended the same way. 10 years from now, I'll walk with you into the sun. When you're ready." Tong Liya's were more poetic, often quoting Kazakh lullabies or poems by Sujima. But Xiao Ran's notes changed each year. Age 3. "Mama funny." Age 5. "I saw snow." Age 7. "I want to be outside." Age 9. "Will they like me?" The decision to go public. In early 2025, Tong Liya reportedly met with a child psychologist who told her, "You've built him the most beautiful cave. But he's ready to walk into the forest." That night they gave Xiao Ran the choice. He thought quietly for a moment, then said, "Can I still be your Xiao Ran, even if other people know?" Jerry smiled through tears. "You'll always be ours." And so, on August 1st, a decade after that thunderstorm birth, the family revealed the truth. Their legacy isn't just about secrecy. It's about devotion. The truth behind Jerry Yen and Tong Liya's second son isn't just about hiding him from the world. It's about what they chose to give up in order to hold him close. Not every parent has to flee from cameras, erase digital footprints, or pretend their child doesn't exist. But for them, people hounded by flashbulbs since their 20s, there was no other way. And they did it without bitterness. Without a